What's up, everybody? This is the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast, and I'm your host, Sean Dustin. If you are watching this on YouTube, do me a favor and hit the thumbs the video up and subscribe and hit that little bell notification thing so you know when these live streams are happening. I do them every Monday mostly, and sometimes you'll get them during the week like today, and then I have another one scheduled for 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. But for the most part, they're on Mondays. So if you're on Facebook, go ahead and share and like this. The algorithm's not very nice to us if we don't want to pay for advertising. And so we depend on, all of you guys out there that are listening and watching the show and support the show to help us out by sharing this. Also, we've got to that side. I keep getting screwed up on here. So if you look over on where my finger's pointing, that is on May 22nd. It's the We Got This Movement Speaker Summit, which I'm going to be participating in and speaking in on Saturday. It starts at 12 Eastern. It's a paid event, so you can get tickets in the description. If you go to the description of this show right here, it'll have a link, my special link to it, and you can get the tickets through there. The bottom one is the Back from Broken Virtual Summit, and there's about 30 speakers in that, and that's on June 5th and June 6th. And I'm actually working the technical part of that, but I'm speaking in it as well. And that one is a free event. And there's 250 tickets available, and the direct links are in the description as well. Go over there, grab your ticket, and that's going to be a really, really good one. They're both going to be really good, but the Back from Broken is about 30 speakers, and that's exactly what it's about. It's about comeback stories and people that have come back from setback in their life and how they kind of got through it. And we will be back right after this, these messages, after the intro, but we're going to be talking to Tasha Odunuyi, and she is going to share her story as well as her passion for empowering women to live healed and free. She also has got a book, and if you want to see the trailer to that book that's going to be coming out, that's in the description as well. So take a look at that, and I will be right back with Tasha after these messages.
Sean Dustin spent time in federal and state prison for drug trafficking and fraud. Upon release in 2006, he had nothing but the clothes on his back, a bag of mail, and legal paperwork. In 2010, he kicked a long-time methamphetamine habit and started the long climb back up the ladder of life. This is the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. If you want transparency and authenticity, you're in the right place. This is the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast, and this is Sean Dustin.
Hi, Tasha.
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me tonight.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me on the show, and coming to share your story with the viewers and the listeners out there. Definitely appreciate it. You and I met on Clubhouse room. I think I shared my story, and you hopped on and wanted to reach out, or I reached out to you. One of the things, but it was a while ago. So yeah, that's awesome, and like I said, I appreciate you coming.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to sharing my story with you and your viewers.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell the viewers a little bit about yourself, and where do you come from? I know you're pretty accomplished. You're a realtor. You're doing things out there.
Hi, well, my name is Tasha Odunuyi, and I am the owner of Diella Design's women fashion brand, where I empower women to be bold, fierce, and unapologetically comfortable in embracing everything that sets them apart, unique and it just happens to be through fashion. Outside of fashion, I am the new author of Mustering the Strength to Fight, where my mission and sole purpose will be to share how I triumphed over trauma and to also begin to help women to see that their stories matter. Everybody has a voice, and what you went through can actually prepare somebody else to push through what they're going through. And as Sean mentioned, I do dabble in real estate as well. So busy, wife, mom, 3 kids, and all of that good stuff. So yeah, keeping me pretty busy.
Yeah, definitely. It's you're you're an overachiever.
Working on it.
But that's great. But it wasn't always like that, huh?
Yeah, for sure. I'm the oldest of 7 kids. Well, was the oldest of 7 kids. What brings me to writing this book? It's a long time coming. Actually, it happened like 20 years ago, but it took time for me to process and go through my own healing to be able to be at this place right now where I actually agreed to interview with Sean about this book. Three of my brothers got into a fight. One died from his injury. One was faced with serving 20 years time. And I just felt like I lost one brother and I didn't want to lose another. And I wanted to fight for him. And that's exactly what I did. And so this happened like one Friday evening. By Saturday, I was telling my husband to drive me down to the jail to see my brother because it happened so fast and people question like, was it too soon or, were you sure? My whole thinking was that flight or fight mode, On one hand, I lost one brother. On one hand, I was going to have to fight for a brother because he was facing serving 20 years. And I didn't even think that he could make it through 20 years of jail. And I just did what I had to do to be able to support him. And unfortunately, when I said I didn't want to lose another brother, I actually did because the third brother involved in the fight slowly developed mental illness and he was killed by SWAT.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's really what we were. I think I was talking about being justice impacted,
Mm-hmm.
and that is the perfect example of being justice impacted by the justice system.
Mm-hmm.
Not only it doesn't necessarily mean that you're an offender.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be an offender to be impacted by the justice system. A lot of the times family members are the ones that have to deal with a lot when things like this happen.
Sure.
And that's really what I like focusing on. I don't like focusing on the realities of prison, of the gruesome things that go on there, the sensationalization that some people do around prison. I think we're doing a disservice when we amplify that signal, because that just further, in my opinion, I don't know, like solidifies to the public opinion that people should, these people belong there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not necessarily the truth. I like talking about, the impact on the family members, the children, what that relationship was like, mother, daughter, sister. And, that's really the antithesis of why I wanted you on the show to talk about that. And so, it had to have been difficult being placed in that situation. On the one hand, do you get mad, at the situation, or, what was that like?
To be perfectly honest, I really had no time to be mad. Of course, naturally, I was hurt and I was grieving, and it was a traumatic experience for us all. But I just knew that even though he didn't have anybody else to turn to, I had to be the one to be able to step in there. I can honestly say to this day, I never showed him any anger because, it may not seem natural to a lot of people, and I was sorry about what happened, but there was never really any anger. It was more hurt and confusion and just, questioning, just like we all do, why us, why something like that had to happen within our family. And it was a tough spot to be in because, let's just be honest. I was fighting against a state's attorney who was fighting for justice for my brother. And on the other hand, I was fighting to save another brother. So it put me in a very tough situation. You know, if it had been anybody else, I would have been fighting just as hard for that person to receive, justice for the death of my brother. But unfortunately, these circumstances were different, and I had to do what I had to do, and I don't regret it.
Now, how much time did your brother actually spend in prison?
Initially, they wanted him to serve 20 years. He got a plea, and he actually served 4.5, 5 years.
Okay, that's not bad. And it was a state case. And what state was this in?
This is in Chicago, Illinois.
Oh, Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still in Chicago now?
Yeah, I'm in the northwest suburb of Chicago.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How is what's it like in Chicago now? Because I remember when I first started the podcast, I interviewed a woman who did some inner city work, and it was pretty bad 2 years ago. Has it gotten any better, or has it gotten worse?
I mean, it's a lot of stuff going on. There are a lot of things happening with gun violence and all of that stuff. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's just like anywhere else. You know, you have your good and your bad parts, and yeah, for sure.
I digress. Didn't mean to veer off into
that.
I just sometimes when I hear people from different places, I'm like, oh, I want to. What's going on over there? You know. So yeah. So tell me a little bit about this the book of yours, and kind of what inspired that. What we all have to get to a point, in any kind of creative endeavor that we decide we want to go down. For me, it was a podcast that I wanted to start first. And, there was things that were, that spawned that and inspired it. So what inspired you to write this book?
Like I stated earlier, it was a long time coming, because before I could even get to this place where I would even start to write a book, after many times of getting words from people about me supposed to be writing the book, and doing this quarantine was the perfect time, because we were all like at a standstill, and it allowed me to actually sit down and do it. And so my hope was to, one, I couldn't change what happened, but if one person reads my book and their life is turned around, they're healed, they can show compassion to another family member, they realize what the prison system is like and how important it is for some of these family members to support their loved ones. And I know it's hard, because it's hard, like you said, on the family, but I just want to be able to empower people to be able to push toward their healing. This book is not focusing on the trauma. It's focusing on my faith, what carried me through this. You get to see the moments and the times where I felt like I couldn't even push, because again, these were both my brothers. About it, because let's just be honest, a lot of people say this happened to me, and some people deal with trauma different. Who's to say that the past is could have been? Everybody deals with trauma in a different way.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Trauma, there's no one size fits all to dealing with trauma. There's no one size fits all to how trauma will manifest itself in somebody's life, and the things that come after that. I strongly think that untreated trauma should be the number one public safety issue.
Exactly.
And there's so many folks out there that especially in the formerly incarcerated community, or the people that are in prison currently, that there has been some sort of traumatic experience in their childhood, or in the stages coming up to that hadn't been dealt with, and just sort of, was untreated, and just sort of spawned, and it's crazy when you really start to dissect that whole thing.
I mean, it's true. I mean, you asked me about Chicago and what's happening here. When you think about these kids who are out here in gangs and all the other stuff going on, many times it's stemming from something. A lot of these kids are out here on their own, without any parents. Some have turned to gangs. And so I guess I can see from a different lens, because when I see stories like this, my initial thought is, I wonder what this is stemming from. Just like you said, there's something else deeply rooted. you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in our case, we grew up physically and mentally abused by my mom's husband. Not saying that's why all of this happened, but you know, everybody has a past. You never know what people are dealing with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I mean, mine. I would never have thought that it would do what it did to me, and it was just my parents'
Mm-hmm.
divorce and them using me to get back at each other, and that whole tugging, and that was the only thing, and
Mm-hmm.
it seems like something small, and that you think that would affect somebody that deeply to take them off into a different direction like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, at 5 years old, I mean, kids don't know how to deal with that,
Mm-hmm.
you
Right.
know.
Right.
So I'm going to do something here. Do you mind if I play your trailer
No, sure.
for your book?
Mm-hmm.
All right, because I forgot I have that capability. So I'm going to share screen, and we're going to go share audio, screen one, share. Got it. And hopefully this works the way I need it to. I'm going to hide that. I'm going to go full screen. Look at you.
You're so funny.
Damn, girl, that's a pretty good. That was a good produced trailer there.
Thank you. I wanted something impactful because when I think about what I went through with this whole situation, I mean, it was nothing but a fight. And in the book, the chapters actually are broken down into different fights: fighting for your healing, fighting for your family. And so when I was even thinking about the book cover, again, going back to fighting, all I could think about was boxing. You know, some matches you have time to prepare for, some are unexpected. And in this case, this is something that we never would have thought our family would have gone through.
No, that's a really good point.
Yeah,
You never know what you're going to do until you're actually faced with it. I mean,
exactly.
you can think you can prepare for the worst
Hmm.
all you want, but until you get hit with it, it's well, there's such a good saying, and I think it has to do with boxing too. It's like the plans change once you get hit in the face.
It's true. It's true.
It's all good until you get socked in the mouth, and then it's like, oh, what am I doing? How am I going to respond now? And life is a lot like that, man.
For sure, for sure.
Lots of ups and downs, lots of trials, lots of tribulations, lots of figuring out what works, what doesn't work. We got Sandy, my friend Sandy. Hey, Sandy, what's up, girl? Tasha, you are correct, and I empathize with you. I wish you well.
Thank you.
Sandy is an advocate for the justice impacted community, and we work together on some things. I've had her on my show and we just said it the other day, man. I'm so Charles Miller, who was wrongfully convicted, and we had his wife on, and they told the story and the case and everything else. And so, sometimes I don't have a lot of money to do things
Mm-hmm.
like help wise like that, but
Mm-hmm.
if I can, using my platform to call things out like
Mm-hmm.
injustices and corruptions and wrongs and stuff like that is what I really enjoy doing.
And I definitely commend you for it because this brings awareness. People need to hear about these stories. And when I was thinking about even writing the book, I mean, we've heard and seen this on the news so many times of instances where families have gone through this trauma, brother, sister, mother, father, and it's something that we don't talk about.
Nope.
I mean, I can't think of an instance where somebody because it's not easy. I mean, it wasn't easy for me. I grew up in a community where um, what goes on in this house stays in this house. You don't talk about family business. But, when I thought about writing this book, I can't change what happened to my brothers, but I can help, just like you're using your platform now, to be able to share and impact and help other family members. And maybe they will begin to open up. Maybe someone who um, will begin to have compassion, that everybody has a story. You have no idea what these men or women have gone through. And just everybody needs compassion. It was on my post on Instagram today. At some point, we all needed compassion, but what are we showing it? And so this book is a perfect example of compassion, unconditional love, forgiveness. Like your story may not be my story. You probably don't know anybody who has gone through this, and maybe you do. But the fact that we all resonate with love, forgiveness, compassion, fighting for something for ourselves or someone else, there's something for everybody. And I really touch a lot on mental illness because in the Black community, there's a great stigma attached to mental illness. A lot of us think that just because we have faith in God, we don't need any outside help. But the truth of the matter is, you can have your faith in God, and you can also have a therapist who can give you practical tools to help you get through. So,
Yeah, and that's one question I have. What did your other brother suffer from?
you know what? And that's the thing. So it was like this slow process. He just began to um, start to be more paranoid. No, he was quiet. I mean, he was not really like really outgoing person, but we just started to know like this slow change in him. And I wrote about one instance in the book where my mom had called me and she said that she couldn't get out of her room door and that he had tied a string to the door and that the eyes on the stove were on, but not the burners. It was just the gas. And to me, that was like a big red flag that this thing had really progressively got out of control. And so many times I talked to him about, seeking therapy, but it just wasn't something that he was willing to do. And I wish I had pressed the issue a little bit more than what we did.
And there's a lot of stigma against that too.
Yeah,
Most people, especially men,
yeah,
they may think that going to the last place that they think that they ever want to be is sitting in a counselor and talking about their problems. But
hmm,
the things that we were taught when we were younger, and we're probably the same generation or close to it,
hmm,
um, is the complete opposite of what helps people.
hmm,
Because keeping things a secret and living with your pain, shame, and guilt, whatever it is that you're suffering
hmm,
through or whatever it is that you're dealing with, when you just hold it inside and you keep that secret, all you're doing is keeping yourself sick.
hmm.
And
Mhm.
no, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say I'm a strong advocate for it. I'm going to be honest. Initially, it does feel very awkward to do it because you think about, I don't want to be sitting down sharing my guts with someone who's going to be judging me. But it really took me like 4 or 5 tries to find the right therapist for me. And I still have her to the day. And it was one of the best decisions that I can make. And to be perfectly honest, you don't have to have a traumatic experience or be going through something crazy to seek a therapist. It's really okay to just have someone that you can talk to and work things out through. It doesn't have to be this big hoopla, but I don't know. It's just, I think it's getting better. but it needs to get even better.
Well, that's one of the reasons why this podcast, and one of the things I'll be speaking about is turning your mess into your message through podcasting, because that's literally what helped me. I was able to talk to people that were going through things, relate to people that were going through things, able to leak out some of the things that I'd gone through. And slowly but surely I started healing through speaking. And when
same thing with the book. It was therapeutic.
You're going back to those points in time. You're able to look at them differently, and through different lenses. And the more you speak, because you can't get you can't get over things by going over it. You can't get over things by going around them. The only way you can get over anything is to go straight through it. And you have to do the work. You have to put in the work to be able to talk through it, to be able to speak through it, to be able to bring it from the darkness into the light. And the moment that you do that, you take the power away from it that it has over you. And that's powerful. That's empowering.
For sure.
And I applaud the work that you're doing with women to try and empower women. I was raised by women. I have more women in my life than I did men. I was raised by a single mom. I spent a lot of time with my grandmother, my sister. And so, that's probably why I'm more comfortable with women and speaking with women these days than I am with guys. I mean, I can talk to everybody, but I mean, that probably has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. For sure. Outside of even sharing this story, I use my fashion brand to empower women through clothing. But man, this book opens up a whole new door, because it's so many of us walking around here with our stories and experiences who are, I don't know, ashamed or just don't want to talk about it. But I've even seen on Clubhouse, I don't know if you've noticed it, but if you go into some of these rooms and just hear, there's so many people just so happy and willing to share their story. It's like a release.
Yeah. Have you seen that Netflix documentary? It's a series called Worn, WORN. It's about clothes, and it's about clothes and fashion, and how different clothes can affect people differently, and how you feel about yourself.
Oh, definitely.
And it's really cool. And there's one in there about somebody who got out of prison, and he didn't have the kind of clothes that he needed, or the clothes that he had were way too big for him. And I remember getting out of prison in Sheridan, Oregon, and all I had was the clothes on my back, which were the sweats that I'd bought on commissary that I've been wearing, the whole time that I've been there. So they were kind of worn, right? I had some tennis shoes, and I had a bag of mail. It was all gray and the white tennis shoes. Everybody knew where I just came from, because I had to go to the airport to fly to Oakland.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. That makes me think about when we picked my brother up from the train station, that it was that very scenario, him getting out off the bus with a big box of letters that I had written him cards. And
it was so humiliating having to be in that airport with everybody just staring at you, or you walk in. It's like, man, it's like I felt 1,000 pairs of eyes on me as I'm walking down the terminal. It's like, and that's just that furthers the traumatization, of being incarcerated. So I mean, you just.
It's true. I mean, they talk about prison reform, but there's really no prison reform. Because when my brother was released, he stayed with us. And of course, you have your probation officer who has to come and check. And then they give you these places where you're supposed to go to get job ready skills. And I'm telling you, when I drove my brother down to this place, I'm like, you want to try to empower these men and get them back on their feet. But I'm looking, and they look so hopeless in the way some of them are being treated. And we spent like 3 hours down there for you to say, okay, come back next week and get this skill, but you never really get a job. And then the jobs that they give you, it's not ongoing. So it's like you're constantly having to, okay, just work, get this check, couple of checks, then okay, maybe they cut you, and it's what he's continuing to go through, because once you have a record, who's going to hire you? And one of the great things that I'm really pushing for him now is to get his little certifications in like construction work. He does well with doing like home remodeling, and so the best thing in a situation like that, especially when you have served time, is to be able to work for yourself, because there are no resources. He had a probation officer, and she was supposed to be helping him to look for a job, but I mean, out of all this time, he's probably had one or two jobs through her.
How old is he?
He's 38 now.
Ooh, he's a little bit, but I mean, you can still get into the trades.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can get into apprenticeship programs even at that age, but it's tough. I mean, I'm going through that. I got into my trade in my early 30s, and I still got like 20 years before I can get out. That's why I'm like, my body can't handle it. I'm 47. There's no way that I can put in 20 more years doing that.
Yeah.
But that is an option. And, that's kind of what, with the nonprofit organization that I started, a lot of that's going to be geared towards vocational training and skills training. And that's why I went with the age group of 18 to 24-year-old transitional age males who still can, it hasn't gone too far to where they've messed their life up to the point where, they're going to be there and they're not going to get out, until they're, not able to, just, age has limited what you can do.
And even with the job readiness, I think that one of the requirements was for him to even get counseling. I mean, nobody even checks or even gives resources for this stuff. How do you expect to have them turn their lives around when they're out here just in survival mode?
That's why it's so easy to go back. That's why the recidivism rate is so high, is because and this is my personal opinion from what I've been through, is that the system, all of them, are designed to set you up to fail unless you have a support system out there that's helping you. But a lot of these guys, I was lucky I did, but they don't. They don't have a family, that can give them a car. Sometimes there's no car in the family whatsoever, or the one car is being used. They don't have, expendable income for that. And not only that, you have the other element of coming back to a environment that was toxic to begin with for you.
Exactly.
And you've been somewhere, and maybe you probably haven't done any work in that area of trying to change the behaviors, or even look at how you were interacting with the people around you. And then you've got the other side of the family, like say maybe it's your mom or your dad that you have a bad relationship with, but you're coming back to that very same environment, and that toxicity is just went dormant. It hasn't gotten fixed, and so as soon as you get home, it picks up right where it left off.
Exactly.
And you're back in that toxic situation, and it's like, no, I don't want to be here. And so you go and you haven't gotten any skills on how to deal with any of that. Prison certainly didn't give you them skills. If anything, it traumatized you even more and made you even worse.
Exactly. It's just a vicious cycle. And that's why we see so much of what's happening right now today. My youngest, my daughter, she works right now with young teens who are out here, and with her initiative, Street Kids Need Love Too. And just to hear some of these kids' stories, there's one child who has been out here on his own since he was like 12 years old. And so you look at stories that we hear about and see about on TV and wonder why these kids are out here. It's not an excuse, but at the same time, it's like nobody's doing anything about any of it.
Nope. And, the ones that should be doing it, I mean, where's the money going? You're throwing all this money at these organizations, but it never really trickles down to where it needs to go. So then it's up to people like me and other folks that have been in the system to, figure out how we can, turn our experience into something that can help people and intrude into that system that has failed most of the people that have gone into it.
Exactly.
So Sandy has a comment here. She says, I must acknowledge the work Sean does, but Tasha, as a preacher's daughter who was sexually and physically abused by him and elders of the congregation, I found great hope through my cognitive behavioral therapy and neuro-linguistic programming. I found this as an active way to work on my emotional issues.
Wow. I commend her for that. And our stories are somewhat similar because, like I said, we were physically and mentally abused by my mom's husband, who was actually a preacher in the church. I mean, this man, he was your ideal person on Sunday, but raising hell Monday through Saturday.
How prevalent is that in with when it comes to I feel honestly I feel like sometimes people hide behind that
Mm-hmm.
designation,
Mm-hmm.
because I know in prison sometimes you would see the guys that were always going to the church and to doing this, and you know they find Jesus when they get to prison, and they lose him as soon as they walk out the door. You know, so I mean, how real is that? And you know, I've heard plenty of times that preachers uh, tend to be the worst.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I can only speak for my one thing I will say. I won't categorize everyone like that, but I've just like you, I've heard about it a lot as well. But one thing it didn't do is make me lose my faith in God, because you know, it, he was just he was just something out of a book. I mean, I couldn't even make up the stories that we went through with him.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
And yeah, I didn't mean to generalize. And if
Oh
you're listening,
no.
to this out there and you're a preacher and you're not like this, kudos to you. You know,
But it is a lot of it. You do hear a lot of it.
yeah, just hiding behind the Lord.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but everybody will have their day. So
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
mm-hmm.
So I definitely want to thank you for coming on the show. And, you know, do you got anything more that you want to talk about? Do you got any other issues that you want to bring up? Not issues with you, but like issues in general that you want to bring light to while we're here?
Definitely mental illness, and to anybody who's having any issues dealing with trauma, um, triggers. You know, they talk about that a lot on Clubhouse in some of the rooms. That it really is a big thing, and seeking therapy is one of the best ways that you can begin to deal with that. I am praying that this book gets in the hands of people who really need that help, really need to see that even though I went through this, even though it was traumatic, you know, sometimes when we're going through things, we don't know how we're going to come out. It doesn't even look like we're going to come out. But for the fact that I am here today to be able to share this story, to be able to have done enough work where I'm healed enough to write this book and share it in hopes that it will impact other people, is proof that you can get through it. It just takes work, and it just takes us doing the work. So I am very happy that you gave me this opportunity. And yeah, I really appreciate it.
No, and I appreciate you too. And, you know, when are you going to start a podcast?
Oh my goodness. Look, do you know how hard it is for me to even start doing public speaking? So now you're really pushing it. But yeah, we'll get there. Look, Clubhouse is my podcast right now.
Well, you know what you could do too. I mean, if you do you have rooms in Clubhouse that you've started? You've started your own room. Or you got a club?
I was actually doing, I was in a room with like 4 or 5 women, ambitious women breaking barriers. So we were beginning to speak a lot about the different issues and things that we as women go through. We're on a little break from that. So what I've been doing is I'm part of Warren's Fearless Speaking Club. And so it's a lot of opportunity there. And so just looking to really just get comfortable with it, because this is a definite new territory that I'm walking into, but I know that I have to do it scared. You know, if you had caught me maybe before quarantine, I would have been like, Sean, yeah, no. But no, I'm here enough that it's important to me to begin to share my story because my story is going to help so many other people. And there's so much in me that I need to release, and it's selfish to just keep sitting back, being scared, not doing it. So
Your story could save lives.
for sure.
And everybody's story out there could save
Right.
somebody. It has the ability to impact somebody in a way that would change their life or save their
Mm-hmm.
life. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I would give a call to action to everybody out there that if you are struggling with something, or if you went through some sort of trauma in your life when you were younger, or even older,
Mm-hmm.
it happens.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest finding a way to get your story out there, whether it's writing it a little 15-page ebook, whatever it is that you got to do to help you to start releasing some of that toxicity that's
Mm-hmm.
within you. And you'll be amazed at how freeing that is.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
it
Absolutely.
it, it freed me.
For sure. For sure.
And so to find Tasha, we have her. I didn't have time to load these up, but your Instagram. What's your handle on Instagram?
It's born the number 2 empower her. Born to empower her.
All right, so we're gonna go at
Mm-hmm.
BORN
Number
number
2.
2
Mm-hmm.
ENPOWER her.
Yep.
So
And the book will be releasing on Amazon on May 24th. You can purchase there. And then you can also feel free to email me at borntoempowerher@gmail and purchase through my website as well.
awesome. And what do you have what's your website?
It's borntoempowerher.com.
All right, so we're gonna write that one up here too. So
Okay.
BORN to ENPOWER. And here is the website, borntoempowerher.com,
Mm-hmm.
and buy directly from you.
Amazon. You can buy on Amazon May 24th.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to it. And when you release that book, shoot me a link and I'll check it out.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Tasha.
No
All
worries. Take care.
right. Bye.
Bye.
Wow. Well, that was another good one. I definitely loved having Tasha on the show, and I listened to her on Clubhouse and doing the Fearless Speaking Club that she's talking about. I know most of those people that are over there, and we got this movement started with the guy who started that, which is Warren Inspire on Instagram. So yeah, definitely check that out. Tomorrow we have uh, an early broadcast, and it's with a researcher by the name of Joel. What is it? Joel Hirschborn. And he wrote a book called The Pandemic Blunder. And so basically what he's got is a huge amount of data that he's gone through from different research studies and stuff, and all the data that's come out about COVID. And he, talks about, Dr. Fauci and all this other stuff. So I'm interested in hearing what his perspective is on this. And, I just think that in times like this, that we have to look at all sides of everything. And whether that's, you may not agree with what I'm going to put up there, or what this person's going to say, and I'm going to try to get some people on the pro side of this as well. And there's just way too much confusing information out there. The narrative is crazy, and I thought about not doing it, to be honest with you. I thought about staying away from this topic because of the pushback that could come from it. And I think that the need for information to try to get to the bottom of what the truth is here is more important than my own more important than me wanting to stay in the middle and not wanting to, have anybody look at me in a certain way. I'm not taking sides. I'm not taking an opinion. I haven't even formed one yet. I do, but it's an uninformed one. So that's what my goal is to try to get information and figure this out for myself before I make a decision on how I want to proceed forward. And that's what we should be doing. That's what everybody should be doing in their own way. And I just happen to have a platform that I can do it publicly and, take you on that journey with me. So that's happening tomorrow at 8 a.m. So look out for that. But until then, have a great evening and keep it 100. Stay true to yourself. Everything else is just noise.
You've been listening to the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. Sean is a single dad, a union blue-collar guy, and he spent time in federal and state prison for drug trafficking and fraud. When he was released from prison in 2006, all he had was the clothes on his back, a bag of mail, and some paperwork. Since then, he's turned his life around and shares the struggles and successes on this podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we hope you were moved. To connect to the show, book a guest spot. For merch, Patreon, PayPal, and social media links, go to linktr.ee/nowhere to go but up. On Instagram at Nowhere to Go But Up Now. On Twitter at But Up Now. On the YouTube channel at Nowhere to Go But Up Podcast. See you next time.